Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Musings. Steve Crosby with you here. We're taking a look at Matthew 18, kind of verse by verse. Now, it's not literally line by line because we can't do that in short 5 and 10 minute exhortations. But section by section, we're going through Matthew 18, trying to establish that it doesn't have anything to do with what many people commonly think it does. The last time we were together, we established the tone of the chapter should be humility and innocence. And we're going to proceed. We're going to look at 12 through 14, and I'm going to read it to you right now. Again, King James, nothing magical about it. It's just what I'm used to. And in my opinion, they're better translations, but we're not going to get into that today. Verse 12, what do you think? If a man had 100 sheep and one of them be gone astray, doesn't he leave the 99 and go into the mountains and seeks that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say to you, he rejoices more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. Now, we've established the question that for Jews, the issue of inheriting eternal life was very important. Now, we're talking about the kingdom and the ethics of Jesus, the whole heaven and hell conversation, and using this verse as, as a soul-winning verse, go and get the one lost sheep. That simply would not have been in the mind of Jesus's hearers. First of all, there were some Jewish teachings. Again, you can't say Judaism because it was so varied. But some Jews believed that it was impossible for a descendant of Abraham to go to hell. They believed that even if you deserved it, on your way down, you would fall into Abraham's arms. And because of the covenant faithfulness that God made with Abraham, that covenant was sustained, even, people who don't deserve eternal reward. So you need to understand that that's the thinking of the people that are hearing this. Don't think of this as like a Sunday school message to go soul winning. He's talking about one who is outside of the main fold. He's talking about an outsider, someone who should belong in the flock, who isn't. The offense of Jesus's gospel message was what he said about the ethnic outsider. It's what got him in trouble in Luke chapter 4. It's what got Paul in trouble. You have to remember the sense of entitlement and privilege that the Jews believed they had. And you have to remember the hostility, hatred, and bigotry they had towards Samaritans and Gentiles. We've talked about this before, where there is really no modern comparison, although we're living in the day where it's getting close, for the kind of visceral hatred towards those who are outside the flock of God, the Israel of God. And so in Jesus is speaking to them. Well, who is he addressing? He's addressing a Jewish audience. And despite all our efforts to turn this into a soul-winning verse, just like they knew that Israel was the fig tree, they knew that Israel was the flock of God. And there's a sheep that's outside the flock of God. And the idea that those that are on the inside are not worth priority attention, but those that are on the outside are worth the priority attention would have been very offensive. Very offensive. His audience would have been sitting in a presumptive position of privilege. This passage is about not presuming upon privilege. We have other parables. He invites people to the feast and they don't come. Well, then go into the streets. It saturates the gospel. It saturates the Pauline epistles. It saturates the Johannine epistles. It's always about including the outsider. Look, all Jews, regardless of whatever brand deviation or sectarian flavor they had, thought they were automatically in because of their ethnic ties to Abraham and the covenant with Abraham. And they viewed that that's something that couldn't be lost. So when Jesus is talking about a lost sheep, he can't be talking about somebody who's, left Judaism and is going to hell and we got to go find him. And he's not talking about a church that hasn't even really been created yet. And he's not talking about a pillar verse for a Sunday school evangelism program. He's still talking about the nations. He's talking about the outsider. From a covenantal point of view, Israel hadn't gone astray. The covenant is secure because of God's faithfulness. And remember, the opener in this passage, he's talking about the things that are in the context of life and death and the inheritance of the kingdom, the experience of the kingdom. And it's interesting, at verse 12, at the beginning, we know he's engaging in rhetorical type speech because it starts, what do you think? And remember, this would have been auditory. They would have been hearing it. So Jesus can put inflections. And where you put an inflection can change a meaning. Look at even in English, hot dog or hot dog. Just a change of inflection can change the meaning. And in the Pauline epistles, they were read out loud. There was no such thing as silent reading in your head. They didn't have the Bible. And they had Torah, but they weren't silently reading in their head. It was spoken out loud, acted out loud, including inflections. And Jesus opens this little section with a rhetorical invitation to try to shake their sense of entitlement and privilege, the opposite of innocence and humility. He's just been talking about little children inheriting the kingdom. And then he says, well, what do you think? You think just because you're automatically in, everything is cool? No, I'm telling you that if there's even one who's on the outside, that one is worthy of pursuit. So let's not spin this into our world as an evangelical verse for soul winning or chasing down an offended person whose feelings have been hurt and boy, we got to get him back in the church and all that sort of thing. That is not what he's talking about. He's trying to establish an ethic all the way through Matthew 18. He's trying to establish an ethic. And he's trying to challenge the ethic and the understanding of themselves as Jewish people and as Israel, and challenging the way they interact with one another, and challenging the way they interact with their neighbors who they viscerally hate. So let's keep that in mind, as well as some of those are things as we go through the rest of Matthew 18. I'll see you the next time.